Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us for this ICW reception event hosted by BSI. Today, the event is being live streamed from the ICW office in London. You can hopefully see the image on your screen of the office, and you'll be hearing from Lord Evans of Watford, Claire Ward from the ICW, and later Mark Thurston, CEO from HS2, and Lord Jonathan Marland will be speaking virtually in this special hybrid event, which discusses achievements and progress made over the last year. I'm now going to hand over to Lord Evans from the ICW office to introduce the session.
Well, good afternoon and a very warm welcome to all our members to our new ICW offices, our global headquarters here in London. We very much miss not having the House of Lords for our reception, of course, but we hope and expect that that will change very soon. That said, it's really good to be in contact. I do hope this finds you and yours well. I've been really busy. I've had my flat decorated. I paid for it myself, eventually. And like many organizations, we at the ICW are continuing to find ways of engaging with you, our members, albeit remotely, until such times that we can again host large events for you, and we're praying hard that this will not be too long. Given this is an annual event, it's worth reflecting on the last year. We have weathered a very difficult period very well. I'm delighted to report that we have grown our membership. We have 8 new members already and 4 pending, our corporate members, I should have said, and we have a 20% increase in our individual members. So thank you to everyone who's helped in that process. So I'd like to express my warmest greetings to our new members. We're delighted to have you with us. And thank you so much, everyone, for not forgetting and not forgetting our incredible base team at ICW, which is obviously Claire, David Hawkins, Alan, Adrian, and all our associate directors. I'm very pleased to announce that our submissions for our annual awards may be sent in as from tomorrow. So get your skates on, everyone, and please do enter. It's a very prestigious award, and we're looking forward to getting some very interesting applications, entries that we can evaluate. So I'm relying on you all to do your bit. Thank you. We have a webinar on the 10th of June where some of last year's award winners will be presenting their experiences. And ladies and gentlemen, we very much look forward to seeing you at our awards ceremony in December. So please do your bit for that. I'm now absolutely delighted to introduce Claire Ward, our Chief Executive Officer. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, David. And it's a delight to have you here and for us all to be here. Those of us who've been able to come today, and really great that so many members are online as well to see this. And what a year it's been. I don't think any of us imagined when we were forced to hold our House of Lords reception in 2020 online that we would be doing the same thing again. But as the chairman says, we have been making some significant progress and increasing our membership. So we hope that we are doing something right. The pandemic has changed the way in which we all work. For some, it's been a challenge, not meeting in an office or attending events. For others, it's allowed a new way to think, a freedom to do things differently. So this time last year, we just elected our advisory council, and we were defining its role in 2019. We had anticipated it would meet 4 times a year. But with the help of MS Teams, we've been able to meet monthly initially and now every other month. And we've developed the work programme with the advisory council. So those members have been a great support to our executive team and allowing us to think about the development of ICW. Members of the advisory council were at the forefront of redefining the mission and vision of the ICW, which reflects the changing nature of the workplace. In our strategy for the next 2 years, we've set out some clear objectives for the ICW in the context of an uncertain world. And that is essentially the reason why we limited it to a 2-year period. We had 4 strategic objectives, and within those, a series of actions and targets to meet by 2022. After barely a year, we've already made considerable progress, and I'm encouraged that what felt like a stretch when we set those objectives now feels eminently achievable. So today I want to highlight some of the progress that we've made. Our first objective was to expand our reach and influence. For the past 30 years, ICW has been working consistently to promote collaborative working, but we still remain a rather well-kept secret to far too many people and organisations. So the Advisory Council and Board set us the objective of reaching out beyond our traditional sectors to recruit new members and to promote what we do. Over the last year, we've been engaging more widely than before, both in the UK and globally. We've had increased activity in Scotland and Wales, but we've also been supporting colleagues in Australia and New Zealand to build an ICW branch and promote collaborative working in that part of the world. Again, online communications have been a huge benefit to members across the globe, and they've been able to take part in our online webinars and meetings, or indeed access recordings after the event, which I suspect some will be doing today. We've been more active in social media too, promoting those webinars and events. So thanks to the support of the Communications Special Interest Group, and especially Louise McMahon, many more people are aware of the ICW now through those wider communications. But the first change we made in the last year was to recognise that we needed to communicate more with our members and offer them opportunities to get involved in our activities. In the past, attendance has been limited at events by either space or that we have available, or by the cost in both time and money for people to come to London to attend events. So we've been able to open up our activities, especially with the work of the special interest groups, and those meetings online have been more regular and with better attendance and participation. We now have 12 special interest groups, harnessing the expertise of our membership and helping to shape the development of ICW. 2 new groups have been launched this year. The Construction SIG was the natural development from our involvement in the Construction Playbook, which was published last year. Many of our members are in this sector, and their expertise of collaboration can help to show how public and private sector can deliver more through a structured framework. Public Procurement SIG is jointly chaired by the representatives of Sellafield and the CBI, and we know that the implementation of collaborative working across the public procurement framework is an important issue for many of our members who are contracted to the public sector. As the government begins to shape this landscape post-Brexit, we're keen to support discussions on how a more structured approach could help both public and private sector relationships. We also need to be acutely aware that devolved administrations means that if we want to influence government thinking, that's not always based in Westminster, and the nations of the UK equally need to develop their own views on the value of collaborative working. So we were delighted to be able to work with members in Scotland and across the UK to host a conference earlier this year, and thanks to the hard work of Mike Healy, a new steering group for ICW Scotland has been launched, including representatives from many sectors, from Scottish Government and from public bodies. If you're interested in getting involved, please let us know. We've also engaged representatives of government in Wales on the issue of public procurement and collaborative working, and we hope that continued support of our members and Jane Lynch, who is our representative in Wales, will help us develop those networks too. Last year, when we elected the Advisory Council, we also established the ICW Ambassadors, and these companies were essentially the founders of the ICW, who had offered significant support to us over many years. Those ambassadors have done a fantastic job to continue to promote ICW across not just their own companies, but externally too. And I'd like to record our thanks to them. In continuing the work that we've been doing, that was our first objective. But our second objective was to set professional standards and provide effective training and development. Of course, the last year has been disruptive to normal training and development programme. But like others, we've moved a lot of our work online. Our flagship residential ISO collaborative leadership course, which is normally run at Warwick University, didn't transfer quite so well to a virtual experience. So we're delighted that next week that course will be back on and we will have people in attendance who've been waiting for some months. Moving on courses online has been a challenge. So I want to give special thanks to David Hawkins for his perseverance and patience in this area. As many of you will know, David enjoys getting out to meet people and deliver training face to face. Screen time has not been his favourite medium of communication, but he's adapted over the last year, continuing to support members and others as they develop their understanding of collaborative working. And our associate directors too have continued to work closely, and with their support, David has recently been able to review the ICW catalogue of courses and define the collaborative competencies so that we're in a much better position to showcase how our courses can support the development of skills and understanding in collaborative working. We'll continue to keep all of those things under review to ensure they're relevant. As part of those changes, we've also reviewed and enhanced how we support our own members' professional development. Our special interest group and professional development, and led by Joe Potter, has been instrumental in this area in the development of the route to fellowship and the focus on continuing professional development. During this event today, we'll see the outcomes from that work as we recognise the first batch of newly appointed fellows who have met the conditions of the programme. We want those who join the ICW to have a programme to develop their own skills. Many other institutes have digital platforms to support online learning. And whilst that might be a challenge for a smaller institute, we're hoping that later in this year, we'll be able to bring something for members to use to develop their own learning and to record it. And we'll provide more information on that in due course. Our third objective was to demonstrate thought leadership, insight, and knowledge sharing. Our individual members and our executive network are a rich source of knowledge and practical experience. The diversity of the organisations and sectors that they represent offer a value that few other professional institutes can offer. We advocate a structured framework to collaborative working, but we know there are many different companies and organisations developing innovative ways to collaborate internally and externally. We want to support that work and understand how the development of skills within organisations can underpin those relationships. As society develops, so must our thinking on how best to support public and private sector and create new ways to solve bigger challenges, such as enhancing social value, reaching net zero, and promoting more sustainability. Our Thought Leadership Group recently launched a report on the future of collaborative working. If you're interested in this, you can download a copy from our website. The members of the group voluntarily gave their time to this work, and I'd like to thank them for their contribution. This has helped ICW make significant progress in meeting our objectives in this area. Our fourth and final objective was to support the adoption integrity of ISO 44001. We know that for some companies and organisations, certification to ISO 44001 is the right course to demonstrate their commitment to collaborative working. But it may not be appropriate for everyone, and that's especially true of micro, small and medium-sized enterprises. So we recognise that last month, ISO launched ISO 44003, which is guidance targeted at the SME community. And in support of this, ICW has initiated a programme in conjunction with its executive network members to enhance their engagement with the MSME community. Following the work done by the SME Special Interest Group, we've introduced a process to incorporate a structured approach to collaborative working. It's been designed to work through procurement arms of our executive member companies, enabling them, with the support of ICW, to evaluate and recognise their collaborative capability of their supply chain partners. So please get involved if you can, and we'll be updating in due course. Those are the 4 strategic objectives that I've outlined today that have helped us to focus on our work at the ICW, and we will be keeping you updated over the next year. Finally, as long-standing members of the ICW will be aware, this is the time of year when we launch our publication, The Partner, and I'm delighted to do so today. After this event, a digital copy of The Partner will be downloadable from our website. The Partner this year has focused on the theme of collaborating in a crisis. Our members have stepped up during the pandemic, both as individuals and organisations. Many of them have been directly involved in supporting the pandemic and supporting NHS and public services. So one of the recurrent themes has been that those companies who have previously invested in the relationships with their partners and suppliers have been able to reap the benefits when times got tough. The Partner showcases some of the case studies from our members and ambassadors where successful collaborative working has delivered significant value. I hope that you will agree that our Partner this year is in the standard that you as members have become accustomed to. Finally, I want to thank all our members, ambassadors, associate directors, board members, our chairman, and especially David and Alan for their ongoing support that they've given to me this year and to the organisation. I'm proud of how far we have come this year, and I'm confident that when we meet again in person at the annual reception next year, we'll be able to show even more progress and, of course, collaborative working. Thank you. I'll hand over now to our chairman.
Thank you so much, Claire. That was really interesting. And now it is my privilege and pleasure to talk about our new fellows, all 11 of them. First of all, I'd like to mention the fellows that couldn't be here today, but nevertheless, I want to congratulate them. The first is Mike Healy. Many congratulations. Mike joined in October 2016 as Director for ICW Scotland and has been supporting developments north of the border since then. Well done, Mike. Next is David Anderson, has been a member since October 2016 and was chair of our individual members initiative until 2019. Then there's Jill Clancy. Many congratulations, Jill. Jill joined in July 2014 and was a foundation member representative and now works as an ICW associate. Many congratulations. And then we come to a name you will all know well, Bill Taylor. Many congratulations, Bill. Bill joined in July 2015 as an associate director and has been managing our relationship with DIO and contributing to many of our developments. Well done, Bill. The next is Christopher Odom, has been associated with ICW since the late 1990s as an executive network member and is now a key member of our associate directors team. Many congratulations, Chris. Excuse me. Next, I'd like to talk about Kevin Tozer. He's been a member since February 2014 and has been the backbone of Network Rail's support to ICW. Many congratulations, Kevin. And finally, on the online fellows, we have Tim Mowat. Tim has been a representation on the Foundation Management Board for Leonardo. He's an MICW since 2017 and now an active ambassador for ICW and leads the Special Interest Group for Defence and Security. Many congratulations, Tim. So now we come to our fellows who could be here in person. You'll all understand that we're limited on numbers, and therefore it is with great pleasure that I'd like to introduce and hand a certificate to Stuart Crawford. Stuart, many congratulations. Let me just say, Stuart was a foundation member for Lockheed Martin, then Leidos, and now actively supports ICW within NATS. Stuart, many congratulations. I'm absolutely delighted that you're joining as a fellow, and thank you for all you do for the ICW.
Thank you.
So, okay, well done. I'm now delighted to introduce Louise Jones. Louise, many congratulations.
Thank you.
Louise has been a member since 2014 and has been actively supporting the ICW through our special interest groups. Many congratulations, Jill, and thanks for all you do for the ICW. We really do appreciate it, and I'm delighted that you've achieved this fellowship. Well done.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm now delighted to introduce Stephen Abrahams. Steve, many congratulations, Steve. Steve has been an active foundation member representing Babcock International since 2017, now an ambassador, and was appointed as a main board member in 2020. Steve, many congratulations. I'm absolutely delighted that you've achieved fellowship. Thank you so much for all that you do for the ICW. It's always great working with you, and we really appreciate all your input.
Thank you.
All the best.
Thank
you. And last but not least, we have Joe Potter. Joe, lovely to see you, and many congratulations on achieving fellowship. Joe has been a member since 2015, and has been an active member of our professional development special interest group, taking on the chair in 2019, and has led the development of the group and our individual membership program, including the creation of the new CPD program and routes of fellowship. I'm absolutely delighted that you've achieved fellowship, Joe. I'd like to thank you so much for all the help that you've given the ICW. May it long continue. And may I ask you to say a few words now?
Yes.
If I
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Lord Evans, Claire Ward, David Hawkins, Alan Maund, and the ICW Advisory Council for your support to introduce this new scheme to allow members of the ICW to apply to be fellows. I speak on behalf of all the fellows awarded today in this first cohort to say that we are all very proud to have been recognised by the ICW for our outstanding contributions to the field of collaborative working. I'm sure all the new fellows will agree that the process of gathering evidence for our application portfolio and discussing our motivations and achievements during the panel interviews really brought to life our personal contributions to the ICW and our involvement in activities which go that extra mile. As part of the application, we all demonstrated our commitment to continuing professional development, and it was enlightening to look back and remember all that we have learned and how we have grown as professionals and as advocates for collaborative working relationships. It was also beneficial to consider how we will all continue our development of collaborative working as a professional skill in the future. The award of fellowship is not an event per se. It is the distinction of ongoing commitment to the field of collaborative working, to our peers and to the Institute, helping them to support people, organisations and business to understand the value of collaboration and the benefits achieved through collaborative working. And I'd like to finish with a quote from a virologist called Jonas Salk, who said, "The reward for work well done is the opportunity to do more." Thank you.
Thank you very much, Joe. And I think Joe is evidence of how well our fellows have prepared for this time and indicated and by evidence the work that they've done to support the Institute. So I know that we have a number of our fellows who are online, and perhaps I can encourage you to join us now collectively, show your certificates, and the rest of the membership can see what they can aspire to. Excellent. Thank you to all of you. So in my opening remarks, I talked about our objective in reaching out to other organisations, to other institutes, to people where we can look at the synergy between what we are doing and what we're promoting and what's happening in different industries and different sectors. So I'm delighted that the first of our guest speakers today is evidence really of the relationships that we have been building. Mark Thurston is the Chief Executive of HS2, and he has extensive experience of working collaboratively across the public and private sector. HS2 continues to be an example of the complicated partnerships and relationships which are taking place across the public and private sector, where a structured approach to working together can and is delivering value. So we're really looking forward to hearing Mark's experience of collaborative working and what he has been doing at HS2. And I think Mark is online now and able to join us and speak to us. So welcome, Mark. Over to you.
Hi, thank you. And hopefully you can both see and hear me okay?
Yeah, we can see and hear you perfectly. Thanks, Mark.
Great. Okay. Well, thanks for having me. Thanks for the introduction. As was said, my name is Mark Thurston. I'm the Chief Exec of HS2. And of course, I'd have been hoping to speak to you in person today. But if I look a bit dishevelled, it's because it's pouring with rain. I'm at the launch of our first tunneling machine just south of the Chilterns, just inside the M25. So it's a big day for us at HS2. And I think that's timely relative to this event with the ICW. I mean, the past 12 months have clearly been a challenge for many of us, and our industry in infrastructure is no different. And I think it's also changed the way many of us are organised and the way we communicate. But I think it's also brought to the forefront of my mind just how important collaboration plays in the successful working, bringing people together and getting delivery going. And as we've all seen, this technology has really supported us. It's working now for this reception event, and it's our ambition to find more ways at HS2 to collaborate, think about how we use technology, and it's great that I'm able to join you today from site. I'll talk a little bit about the size of the company, just sort of put some context of what HS2 is, if I may, and then I'll go and talk a little bit about how collaboration has been crucial to the challenges that we have here. So the scale of HS2 is the biggest, most challenging infrastructure project in Europe now, and it's the first railway we would have built since Victorian times. Phase 1 alone is 140 miles of new railway, 4 new stations, 2 in London, 2 in the Midlands, 32 miles of twin tunnel, some 10 miles of viaducts, and that's just to get us to Birmingham. And we've now got the second phase, phase 2A, as we call it, which is between the West Midlands and Crewe. We've got roller sent for that early this year in February, we're now starting to think about the supply chain and the partners we need to bring in to build that section. And that's going to include things like ground investigations, environmental surveys, and all the usual things you do to sort of prepare the ground and the environment for construction. And then we have phase 2B, which is the section from Crewe into Manchester. We're getting ready to prepare the legislation for that. We look to deposit that into the House early next year. And this itself demonstrates just how much is going on at one time on HS2. Each phase of the programme is at a different stage in the life cycle. So effective collaboration with our different partners across this route is key. And as I mentioned, I'm speaking to you from our site office, the phase 1 South Portal site in Buckinghamshire, where we're working with our partners here, Align, which is a joint venture itself, a collaboration between Bouygues, Volkers and McAlpine. And it's where we've launched, and hopefully, if you haven't picked it up on today's press, having just been with Sky and others, we hope to get some good pick-up and coverage today in this evening's media. And this is a great example of collaborative working for us. These tunnelling machines were manufactured in Germany. They arrived in the UK in more than 1,000 parts last year. We made sure we got them all here last year without quite knowing where Brexit was going to get us. And they've now been assembled on site. And as I say, the first one starts in earnest today. And these TBMs, our tunnelling machines, are now starting a 10-mile journey north under the area of natural beauty of the Chilterns, and they're going to be working non-stop for 3.5 years. And of course, this is just one part of the route, and up and down the route now, we've got over 300 sites working on HS2. Our main civils contracts alone are worth £12 billion of investment, and that's in the UK supply chain with a series of European and British partners. And that investment is supporting around 400,000 contract opportunities for businesses at all levels, both big and small, right across the UK. So what does this mean for collaboration? Well, so you can hopefully start to appreciate the sheer scale of what we're building on phase one alone. That size and complexity of the project means that at peak, we will employ somewhere around 22,000 people, with many more jobs supported down, support jobs in the supply chain. And our supply chain will essentially build and deliver this railway and collaborate between us with each other. And that collaboration sort of is at the essence and the cornerstone of our success here at HS2. But it's not just about the engineering complexity that makes the collaboration on this project so important. As with all infrastructure projects, but particularly one of this size, we have a huge engagement challenge to ensure we deliver this project respectfully for those communities who are affected by our work up and down the route. And of course, those communities are very diverse. We have sort of urban, dense boroughs in London and in the circle of Birmingham. And then, of course, through here, you go north where I'm today, through the Chilterns, through into Warwickshire, much more rural. So really different challenges for our supply partners working with us to make sure that we don't unduly disrupt the people who live and work, who didn't choose, of course, to be adjacent to the route of this railway. And we're working really hard at this. We sort of have this idea of trying to be a good neighbour. That's a massive challenge for us. But that, again, collaboration is crucial in that regard. And of course, a big part of that challenge is about being consistent in our approach, regardless of what we're doing, and making sure that our partners, all who wear HS2 on their protective equipment, they provide the best possible engagement, and we're sharing learnings right across our supply chain. And the structure of our phase one contracts is such that we've deliberately sort of enabled our partners to sort of work in this particular way. On the civil, so one of the civils packages I'm at today, there are 7 packages being delivered by 4 separate joint ventures. And of course, I increasingly start to refer to HS2 as the HS2 family, 16,000 people working today, some 2,000 organisations. And I deliberately use the word family because it's about trust, it's about compromise and working together, and a sense of all being part of one team. And of course, there are separate contracts for enabling works and the design and construction of our stations. We've got our rail systems to come, and then of course the rolling stock. And we have multiple delivery partners designing and constructing areas along the phase one route, working together, collaborating to deliver the whole railway. So in short, collaboration is essential for us as a client, but it's also essential between our different contractors and the different communities and geographical areas, as I've said, that we work with. And for us, this isn't an optional approach. This is a discretionary choice we're making about the value of collaboration. For us, it's business critical if we're going to build this railway on time, on budget, safely, and deliver the value to the UK taxpayer. So what does that actually mean for us in terms of collaboration? Well, I often talk to my leadership team at HS2 about what we're doing here and the scale of what we're doing being an elite sport. And if you could sort of make the correlation to elite sport, we've got the Olympics this year in Japan. For an outstanding teamwork to really to perform at the very highest level in any sort of walk of sport, you need outstanding teamwork. And I talk to my team about how do we use that context as a backdrop to getting us set up in a way that we collaborate to drive the performance we need to deliver this railway. And a foundation of success of that in the context of project delivery, for me, is very clear, and it starts with us as the client. HS2 Limited, which is an arm's length body of the Department for Transport, so we're a government agency and we're the client for this project. So we need to set the tone, we need to role model the right behaviours and what we expect, and we expect, frankly, our supply chain to reciprocate. And as you can imagine, we're picking partners who want to work with us in a certain way. And actually, that's where I see my role as the CEO comes in, to provide the leadership and really reinforce the importance of teamwork at every level of the HS2 family, whether I'm talking to the CEOs of some of my partners or, in fact, whether I'm talking to some of my apprentices. And we've taken a look at the structure of our organisation at HS2 and put collaboration very much at the heart of it. Our commercial models are a good example of this. We look to our partners to work with us on phase one. If you took our phase one engineering delivery partner, we're separately going to go to market for a phase 2A design and delivery partner. And these are the sorts of contracts we've established where we bring organisations in to work very seamlessly with us to drive this program forward. And this partnership approach fosters that sort of one team, one family mentality, where integrating different contractors with our head offices in London and Birmingham, and of course our increasing site operations. And as I said, we've got now 300 sites up and down the route. So this is a big, complex enterprise. And we've set up, particularly for the civils, and we're one of the civils contractors today, a delivery model that specifically has invested in integrated project teams. And these are co-located, made up of both HS2 and the joint venture staff. And the intent of this approach is recognising the scale and the cost of what we're doing, is that these teams are empowered, they can make decisions quickly in real time, and have the autonomy to drive the project outcomes that are essential for the success of HS2. And then this is underpinned, and this is quite an important point for me, by the capability of us as a client body. And that's to sort of embed and promote teamwork in everything we do. And in my first week in this job just over 4 years ago, I was introduced to all the senior leaders, and I introduced to them this concept of a team of teams. You know, we're a big, complex organisation of our own, about 1,800 strong, and we continue to talk about this sort of team of teams as a frame of reference today, where people work together. And if members of the ICW are on this event today haven't read the McAllister book, I can strongly recommend it, because it's a fantastic insight into how a sort of team of teams collaborative approach was used in the world of sort of combat in the Middle East. We've recently completed what has been a 3-year program of systematically implementing what we call enterprise capability right across every area of the HS2 business. And this, combined with the work we've done on our corporate values and culture, means that we've made it clear to all of our staff our expectations about how we want them to operate and behave at HS2. And I would argue that what we're doing at HS2, both internally with our own staff and our supply chain, is setting a template for government that really complements the intent of their recently published construction playbook, something I discussed with David and some of one of your special interest groups only last week. And the construction playbook provides a framework for an organisation like us at HS2 to sort of really be a living example of what good practice looks like at being a collaborative client with a supply chain. So really, in conclusion, if I may, as you can probably tell, it's my belief as the CEO of this undertaking that collaboration and outstanding teamwork is fundamental to the success of this project. But I'm also very aware that neither of these things are a given. You know, all of us involved and who participate and part of the HS2 family, particularly in leadership roles, need to be prepared to consistently invest in collaboration and teamwork if we are going to be successful. For that, I feel, both personally and professionally, really invested. And I see it as my job in particular to create the environment that encourages and rewards our staff to collaborate and drive those right project outcomes. At HS2, we are not just aware of what we're doing, which in itself is of a scale and in complexity and an importance that we shouldn't lose sight of, but not just what we do, but how we do it. And the trick for us is to create a culture and a set of behaviours for our people to work together to contribute what is, frankly, a once-in-a-lifetime project for our sector and for our country. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Mark, for your contribution. And I think there's some very wise words in what Mark has said about the importance of collaborative working, and clearly he's got quite a task there on his hand, but it sounds like it's a successful one. So I wish him and his colleagues well at HS2. We're now moving on to our second guest speaker of today. Lord Marland is a former minister and a former trade envoy for the Prime Minister. So we're absolutely delighted that he's able to join us today, particularly as his current role is chairman of the Commonwealth Enterprise and Investment Council. Now, obviously, some of you will be aware that last year we had planned an event at the Commonwealth in March 2020, but unfortunately we had to postpone it. But we do recognise the importance of the Commonwealth as an opportunity to develop global trading partnerships, particularly post-Brexit. So we are especially excited that Lord Marland, in his capacity as chairman of the Commonwealth Enterprise and Investment Council, is able to join us today. Lord Marland, can I ask you to say a few words to the ICW, please?
Well, good afternoon, everybody, and thank you so much indeed for having me speak today. It's always a great privilege to join events like this. As you rightly say, COVID and the after effects of COVID have caused difficulties for gatherings of international nature like the Commonwealth, and unfortunately CHOGM, the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting, is being postponed from June this year, probably for another year. And a key part of that, as you mentioned earlier, is the business forum, which I have the privilege of chairing. That also will be postponed for a year. And of course, the great thing about the event you're hosting today is how important collaborative working is during this time of pandemic, how we've all had to adjust to new forms of working, to new forms of communication and new forms of collaboration. Our organisation, for those that are not familiar with it, briefly was bought out of an organisation which I took over as chairman in 2014. We re-engineered it to being a membership organisation. It is vested by the heads of government, so we are independent of the Secretariat, but we work under the auspices of the membership governments. We are a subscription membership organisation, so we're dependent upon our partners renewing and paying annual dues, which range from 10 to 60,000. We, from a standing start, now have over 100 strategic partners, which include countries and obviously individual corporate members. Please look at our website if you have a moment. And we badge ourselves as a networking organisation, a collaborative organisation, and we therefore have had to establish in these COVID times a new framework of how we operate. And that has been through these wonderful events called webinars. I mean, it's cut down my travel, obviously, which used to be almost every week to a Commonwealth country, to zero, as it has my team. And yet we're communicating in an even greater way through these webinars than we did actually before lockdown. Our first webinar was Mervyn King, who was, as you all know, Governor of the Bank of England. And it was, as I listened to Mervyn's speech now, 12 months ago, it was almost like listening to a soothsayer. Everything he said has turned out to be right. Everything he predicted has turned out to be right. And all I wonder is his future predictions turn out to be right, because it was absolutely fascinating. And we didn't stop at Mervyn. We then went to the President of Nigeria, the President of Ghana. We've had First Ministers, Premiers speaking from across the Commonwealth speaking at our events. We've had webinars on medtech, finance, leisure and tourism, obviously very key at the moment, sustainability, fintech, banking, oceans and redevelopment of oceans, small island states, clothing supply chains, you name it, we've almost had a webinar on it. And it culminated last week with our webinar where we had 850 people attending, which was on the African Free Trade Zone that is now being headquartered in Ghana. And actually, we've developed our relationships more strongly across the Commonwealth. We now have 8 offices, and I'm about to open our new office in Gibraltar in a couple of weeks' time. Sorry, in June, as a matter of fact, if that's 2 weeks' time. Which adds to Sri Lanka, Malta, Cayman, Nigeria, Ghana, Malaysia, and one in the City of London at the Guildhall with our strategic partner, the City of London, and one in Pall Mall. And so we're continuing on that philosophy of collaborating, establishing bridgeheads in countries to enhance our collaboration. We've also started strategic partnerships with the Queen's Commonwealth Trust, the Renewable Energy, the Energy Efficiency Partnership, Brennan and Partners, the Association of Commonwealth Universities, who we're working closely with. Obviously, we have relationships with the Royal Commonwealth Society, Commonwealth Foundation, and these are very cross-supportive, but I think our biggest relationship is with the Commonwealth Games, where we will be hosting a business event in Birmingham around the Commonwealth Games. Disappointingly for us is that the UK government, who have been in chair of office for now a year longer than was predicted because of COVID, and now looks like being 2 years longer than predicted because of COVID, have really failed to grasp the opportunity of the Commonwealth. Perhaps this is a lag of exiting Europe or Brexiting Europe. Perhaps this is a lag of COVID and everyone being focused on it. But to collaborate with 54 countries plus the dependencies, which takes us into the 60s, a third of the world's population, all speaking the same language, underpinned largely by a British legal system, strikes me as being a no-brainer for the UK government. And frankly, when I hear them announce that they've signed £1 billion trade deal with India, which actually is 400 million of exports to India, it's so small you kind of wonder, why they're not focusing on the bigger picture. The Prime Minister understands the benefit of the Commonwealth and has asked me to start a Commonwealth trade agreement, which, as I pointed out to him, is a very good thing, but it will be a very complex thing to do, and actually impossible to do if you have the UK government running around doing its own trade deals. And I think there's a missed opportunity of collaboration for the UK, for the UK's businesses, with the UK leading on this. And the opportunity is so clear of the research that's been carried out. There is a 19% advantage of an intra-Commonwealth business arrangement. So if I go and sell or buy products from another Commonwealth country, it's 19% cheaper. You don't need interpreters, you don't need to interpret a different basic rule of law, and there is fundamental relationships that have of collaboration that have gone over the years. So I will leave you with this thought, if I may, that this is a fantastic event you're holding. Collaboration, cooperation, networking are going to be the keys to the turbocharging of countries' economies post-Commonwealth, post-COVID, sorry. And the Commonwealth, for its members, is an absolute no-brainer to enhance that collaboration. And I think this event shows the importance that it has for all of us going forward.
Great, thank you very much, Lord Marlin. I'm sure everyone enjoyed that as much as I did. We're now moving on to the panel session of our session today. So we'll just shortly get our panel to introduce themselves, and then feel free to ask and send in any questions you have. If not, we have a couple to get them underway. If we could just get the camera live. Fantastic. David, do you want to just give us a quick introduction? I'm sure most people know who you are, but no harm in reiterating that.
ICW and chief protagonist in a number of the activities that we're involved in.
Good afternoon. My name is David Evans. I'm delighted to be chairman of the ICW, and I'm ever so pleased to be here today.
I'm Steve Abraham, head of collaborative working at National, and also non-executive director on the board of the ICW.
You've seen quite a bit of me today already. I'm Claire Ward, I'm the chief executive of the ICW.
Brilliant. So the first question we have revolves around the scheme that's been mentioned regarding SMEs. So is this going to be available for both members and non-members companies?
David, I think you should pick that.
Initially, we are keeping it within the ICW community so that we can work through the issues and any challenges that it presents. But the long-term aim is that it will be something that can be rolled out, not just in the UK, but we've also had interest from overseas companies and organisations as well. We're working together with DTI and the Cabinet Office to introduce perhaps this into their thinking as well.
Great, thank you. We have had another question come in, but unfortunately it's for Lord Marlin, who, as I'm sure we all understand, is a very busy man. One we did receive earlier is, what is ICW to capture the initiatives of government regarding collaboration?
Claire, if you want to pick that one up.
I'll pick that one up. So I think there's a lot of different areas, some of which I addressed in my opening statement. We are clearly working around the public procurement areas. It's going to be of interest for government and for our members, specifically on the construction playbook. And you heard what Mark Thurston had to say about that and how important it is. I think there's lots of other opportunities as well, particularly around health services, lots of collaboration and collaborative working taking place in the NHS. I think that is something that the ICW can contribute to and support in some way in terms of encouraging people to look at a structured framework of collaborative working. I think we have opportunities, as Lord Marland was talking about, in terms of the Commonwealth and how we can introduce some of our collaborative working activities and training and development across Commonwealth countries as well. So plenty of work, plenty of opportunities, but we've got to promote to government why collaboration is important. It is a buzzword at the moment for government. They talk about it, but actually what we really need to see is something that helps organisations, helps companies, helps different parts of the public-private sector to actually deliver outputs, deliver projects collaboratively, and to be able to measure the values that it delivers.
Okay, the next question we have is from Jen Brownlee at Siemens. What do you see as the true value of ICW sponsorship by companies and for companies?
Maybe Steve.
Isn't it? Yeah, well, it's really it's a good thing to get into to do the sponsorship, because you make lots of connections with people. And collaboration with Babcock. I mean, we, as Claire was saying, we collaborate a lot in the Commonwealth with Commonwealth countries, also around Europe. And when people know that you're collaborating, you're also talking on the same level, on the same playing field, so you know where the other people are coming from. And so it makes it a very easy path for them to do business and work together. So that's why we value collaboration.
Okay, great. We've had a couple of questions regarding the ICW award. So earlier, we were asked about where people can find out further information, and we've also been asked, are the ICW Awards open to non-members?
Yes, of course, we do welcome entries from non-members. In fact, over the last few years, we've had a few winners, one from the NHS, which was an example of collaboration between different hospital trusts, which worked really well. We were delighted to award that. You'll find all the details online, and we very much welcome your contributions. Entries can start from tomorrow, and it's to the end of June. Yeah, July. I beg your pardon. So we're looking forward. Please get your skates on. Let's start filling in the forms, and I'm sure we'll welcome your entries. So thank you very much.
And perhaps just to encourage people even further, we have planned our awards ceremony in December at the House of Lords, as we normally have it, and we are very optimistic that we will be able to be there in person. So if you are lucky enough to win an award, that's where we'll be.
Fantastic. That actually tied on to the next one I had, which was about what are plans for face-to-face and online courses. But I guess we can talk about events, etc. But what about the courses that the ICW run? Are they planning to be online, or are they going to be face-to-face? How's that going to work going forward?
Well, I think, you know, from my perspective, and I mean, it's a big issue for us. We've talked a lot about competencies, capability, and understanding collaboration. The last 15 months has been challenging to most organisations. We are now approaching the new normal, I guess, if that's the term that seems to be adopted. And I think what we're looking at now is a range of different delivery models. Some courses don't lend themselves particularly well to online delivery, others do. Others we're looking at in terms of how they can be more readily available or easily accessible through online courses and online programs. I think we've learned a lot over the last 15 months in terms of what does work and what doesn't. You know, it's interesting that we've had a diverse view of opinions. Some who would say they like the idea of the online courses that are readily available 24/7. Others who have put off almost for a year participating in some of our courses because they wanted to get into a room with other people, me included, I would say.
Great, thank you. And we've got a nice segue on obviously the COVID question. So Stuart here from Mutual Value has asked, COVID has clearly changed culture in a massive way. Do you see strong evidence that collaborative behaviour is now more salient, or the reverse?
Well, I'd say that we are seeing more examples of collaborative working. So, of course, lots of our members have been engaged in that. And again, the case studies that are in the partner, which has been launched today, are prime examples of how you can make collaboration work and how they have been building on those relationships during COVID, whether that's supporting the development of manufacture of ventilators, PPE equipment, whatever it might be. So there's lots of different examples in that. Obviously, life has changed for many of us, but I think we are starting to consider what does collaboration look like within organisations, and how can we adapt as a result of people who don't want to be in the office all of the time, who might be working in different places, but equally some people who want to be back, and we need to be thinking about what does that collaboration look like too, and supporting companies to understand that.
Steve, would you talk about Babcock?
Yeah, sure. So collaboration has been instrumental in our business throughout this past period. We were, involved in doing the ventilator program. So that was a massive group of people getting together, work on 2 separate designs for ventilators. I did it in about 84 days from scratch. So that was excellent. And then we've also had previous customers who've had issues in the past, during COVID. They've left us to go elsewhere, and they've actually asked for our help during COVID to come back because we had such a good collaborative relationship with them. So it's been very good. And also, I personally ran a project, and I still haven't met some of the people that I ran the project with. It went on for about 6 months, but it was for people all the way around the world doing an IT program, and we were managing to deliver that on Teams. And so that was great, and that went all to plan on time. But as I say, I still haven't met them yet. But it's good. It's actually helped actually generate more time. You can get more projects in, and people, the way we're doing it in Babcock, we sort of have more meetings, but they have a shorter time period, and you can get more done to go forward. So yeah, very beneficial.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I think, if I can add to that, I think one of the things, as Claire said, and the rest of us, we've seen great examples of collaboration when we have to. The challenge is, how do we turn that and make it business as usual for the future? And I guess that's the challenge for ICW, is to keep the temperature up, to make sure that we don't lose sight of the opportunities that it delivers when organisations invest in their relationships, and that we don't revert back over time to business as usual. This is a real opportunity. I mean, there's always an upside to any crisis, and if you don't take advantage of a crisis, then you're missing the future.
Yeah, and I think you're right, and we're moving forward like that. So the relationships we've formed stronger relationships and deeper relationships with our customers and suppliers, and then we are now moving to the next level with them to keep that going and move forward and do other projects. So it does work. Yeah.
And there's definitely, as we went through the various case studies in this year's partner, you see those organisations that had already invested in those relationships, how quickly they kicked up a gear when they needed to. And I suspect many of them, like yourselves at Babcock's, will have found, why would we not do this every day?
Yeah.
Great. We have another question from Mike Healy, who I'm sure you all know very well. So hopefully he's not trying to trip you up. He said, what ambitions does the ICW have for improving awareness of structured collaboration among university and school students?
Well, let me start on that one, because it's an area which I've been personally involved in now for about 4 or 5 years, particularly with our relationship with Warwick University. Through them, we created the academic forum. We've taken that to another stage, which is we've actually now set up a special interest group on academia and where that goes. So we've got a number of universities involved with what we are doing, not just in the UK, I might add. They are stretching across Europe and into the Southern Hemisphere. And I think that it's a good question, because, from my perspective, in today's world, I hate to say this because I am one of them, but the grey hairs either get it or they don't. What we have to ensure is that going forward, if we want to take maximum advantage of collaborative working, we have to get this into the armoury of the next generation of managers who are coming out of the university. The pandemic has slowed things down a bit, but we are hoping that later this year we will at last be able to announce through Warwick a joint programme with ICW on a MSc in collaborative leadership, and that's being supported across the faculty up at Warwick, and hopefully we will be able to share that with other universities.
So the next two questions are sort of related to the ICW itself and some of your actions. So how active are ICW branches, and when is the next round of fellowship applications being considered? Someone is clearly very keen to get their name in the ring, their hat in the ring.
So I think, as I outlined, we've seen increased activity in Scotland and Wales. We've also had quite a lot of activity in Australia and New Zealand, and we're working very closely with them as they start to develop the offering to companies and individuals in that part of the world. I know David's had some very good relationships with Portugal, and indeed with Canada at the moment. And we are
Italy, Sweden.
Italy, yeah, we've got some discussions ongoing in Italy and Sweden as well. So all at slightly different levels. Some engagements more than others, some a bit more formalised than others, but they are really great new shoots in some cases, and we're looking forward to developing and supporting them.
Great.
Sorry, the question on fellowship. It was fantastic to have the first round of fellows. We are looking to the next batch to be towards the end of the year. We haven't set the actual timetable yet, but it will be somewhere around October, November time. And we will encourage and invite all of those who have reached the qualifying period of membership to apply towards it, and the details of it are available on the website.
They are indeed, and I would say, don't wait until October. If you've got an application you want to put it in now, and fingers crossed, the next presentations will be all face-to-face in December at our award ceremony.
Great, thank you. The next question is from Arif Zaman, the Commonwealth Businesswomen Network. How can we ensure that women in emerging tech areas also benefit from knowledge and best practice around collaboration? The G20 have previously highlighted this as a missed opportunity to tackle the gap, and it needs immediate action, which is a representation of women in emerging fields. So how can we tackle some of those issues there?
Well, that's a great question, Arif, and I know that Arif will have been watching very carefully as well the speech by Lord Marland, because obviously the interest across the Commonwealth in supporting new enterprises, particularly around tech, and particularly supporting women. And I know there's quite a bit of activity there. I think, again, what we are doing, that structured approach to collaboration and collaborative working, is something that can be implemented in lots of different ways. And perhaps what we will learn out of the SME pilot project is something that we can promote through the Commonwealth that will be targeted at women in Commonwealth countries around the tech sector.
Yeah, I think if I can complement that, those comments, fundamentally, there should be no collaboration by its very nature doesn't have boundaries, shouldn't have barriers. And I think that if you look at the UN 17 principles, one of those is partnership, the other one is education. And I guess it's one of the areas where ICW can perhaps have an influence on where the Commonwealth goes in the future. If we want long-term relationships with the Commonwealth, then I think educating them and bringing them to the levels that perhaps we've achieved so far in the UK and some of the other more advanced countries, why shouldn't it go elsewhere?
Could I just say I'm an advisor to a school in India, in Pune, which has 5,500 students. And I must say, I was there last year in February, and to see the dedication and the hard work of the students was absolutely awesome. And I'm delighted to say that some of the students who've applied for university are accepted by Harvard and Oxford and Cambridge. And I'm so thrilled to think that from a tough start, this school with the most amazing facilities has enabled their children to have these opportunities in universities worldwide. It's really inspiring.
Brilliant, thank you. We do have a few more questions to go, but just to remind everyone that we will have a sort of a Teams meeting afterwards for anyone who does want to join. I'll share the link in the chat, and you'll be able to talk to some of the speakers here today and also some of the fellows. We've had a comment in from Nikki Painter. I'm not sure it's as far as a question. Says, last year was ICW's 30th birthday. We sadly had to postpone our celebratory event. please don't forget it altogether. And I'm sure there are plenty of people in this room who will ensure that it is not forgotten. The next question is, are there more plans to add to the ISO 44000 family of standards?
Yes and no. We have currently, as the chair of the ISO committee, we've got a parallel standard due to come out towards the end of the year, 44004, which is the guidance for large companies on how they can improve the way they work with small companies. There was an initial aim to try and bring those two out together, but bureaucracy gets in the way, so we lost out on that one. So that's already in the mill. It's out for public comment at the moment and should be published towards the end of the year. Beyond that, there is a review going on at the moment to do with the a standard which was published some years ago on collaborative outsourcing, which the collaboration committee has been asked to take on board, review, and come up with a strategy of how to develop that. There is an ad hoc working group at the moment that is looking at collaboration between the universities and industry, and another one that's under debate. I will say that, you know, there are two communities in the standards world, one that loves to make standards for any reason whatsoever, and we as a committee have tried to make sure that there's a real valid reason for developing. There are tens of thousands of standards out there right now, so we're going rigorously through each one to justify to ourselves and the ISO community that there is a market for doing it. But, you know, I think there's lots of discussion around specific standards around, if you like, select areas of collaboration. But we fall between two schools, which is really, if the existing standards are doing what they should be doing, do we actually need to develop them more specifically around industries or sectors? The basic rules are the same. So yes, there will be. They will be under review. We have a special interest group inside ICW right now, which is looking at 44001, just with a view that probably in the next 2-3 years, it will come up for review. What we want to do is to take into account lessons learned. How do we make it more accessible? Maybe overcome some of the minor challenges that people found up to now. So yes, you know, we will be developing more, but on a very controlled basis. I think, you know, it would be too easy to produce a library that nobody went to. That's my perspective on it.
You actually mentioned the special interest groups there, which leads on to the next question of how can I or how do people get involved in those special interest groups?
Drop us a note.
All the special interest groups are listed on the website. If you are interested in any of them, then please just get in touch. Alan's details are on the website to get in touch.
Brilliant. And the final one, unless anyone comes in while you're answering it, is have the ICW considered supporting the third sector with collaborative working?
Yes. Again, sorry, we have a special interest group which has kicked off about 6-9 months ago. Again, I guess everybody in that area has probably been heavily involved in one form or other with the pandemic, so it hasn't moved very far. But I am pleased to say that it is reactivated. We have a new chair under Humraj, who's been actively out there harnessing expertise from other quarters. So I'm pleased that, you know, for example, the Prince's Trust, the Salvation Army, you know, these are organisations who are now joining with ICW to see how they can work with our industry partners, our government partners. How can we get the best for everybody out of those relationships through collaboration?
Brilliant. Do we have any closing remarks?
Well, you're the chair, so.
I'm absolutely delighted with today. I think it's gone very well. So thank you everyone who participated. Thank you to Claire, Steve and David, who've done a tremendous amount of work over the last year in challenging circumstances. And I have to say, it's been one of our most successful years, which is really inspiring for everyone involved, which shows that collaboration works. So thank you very much for your questions and thank you for today.
Can I just add our thanks to BSI, who are our partners for today and have supported by providing this platform for us to be able to talk to our members. They're a great partner and we collaborate very well with them. So thank you to BSI and to all of their team.
Hear, hear.
Great, thank you. So we are just going to keep the webinar open just so you can all find the link to that breakout room. Obviously, some of you might be busy and might need to move on, but we would encourage as many as can to join us over there. You know, share your thoughts, ask questions, and just have a bit of a catch up. But from all of us here in the ICW office, thank you for attending, and we hope to see you soon. Thank you.